From the world's youngest professor, a chef who can't taste her own creations, and even Hollywood's chef of horror. These are the extraordinary people with stories you'll never forget.
Hi everybody, my name is Saborno Berry, and I'll be your teacher for today. Let's begin. My name is Saborno Isaac Berry, I'm 12 years old. As far as I know, I'm the youngest professor that's ever taught at a university.
I'm 11 and I got a scholarship here at NYU. Yeah.
Congratulations to you.
It was not in our level, he was beyond our level.
Good afternoon, students, and welcome to my physics class.
With enough determination and enough passion, anything is possible. Just to dip the pistachios inside your tea instead of eating them. I was born over in Queens at the New York Presbyterian Hospital, but for the entire time when I was growing up, I was in the Bronx. We were in a pretty small apartment. My dad had a job working as a security guard, and my mom was still unemployed back then, which made things pretty hard. But still, my dad had a big love for mathematics.
I eat 4 carrots. No, I eat 5V over R.
Okay, what is the atomic number for beryllium?
My first interesting memory is around when I was 2 years old. And that was when I started wondering, why do we use math to explain the natural world? My mom used to give me lessons in math, and that was when the thought started occurring to me.
Okay.
One day I was teaching him like 1 + 1 is 2, very beginning of the teaching level. And then he said, Mom, then n plus n is what? It's 2n, right? And then n times n is what? So it's kind of challenging situation for me. So I asked him to teach Suborno, but my husband said, no, he's just trying to impress you. I said, no, he's totally different than other kids. I just realized that. So then my husband started teaching him.
I don't know.
Atomic number is 7. How many protons in hydrogen?
1.
Okay, very good. So write 1.
It's not easy to teach Suborno. He kept challenging me. So I was unable to serve his need. So
Yeah.
I took him to my professor.
Yeah, it was like, it was not in our level. He was beyond our levels.
In general, my preschool and kindergarten education was very normal, and so was my first grade and second grade education. As soon as third grade hit, I felt like I was totally disconnected from my school. I found myself growing more and more bored of the mathematics that I was being taught. Something in me finally broke, and I decided to just stop caring about school. By the time I finished third grade, I actually had a whopping 122 missing assignments. And that was when my parents noticed that and decided that they had to actually support me by moving me to a higher grade so that I could actually feel challenged. I've been teaching, technically, for a very long time, ever since the channel Berry Science Lab has started. P factorial over K factorial, P minus K factorial. And one day, when I was 7 years old, I was given an invitation by the university in India to give some lectures about math and physics.
I'm sure that I will still be able to inspire you to fall in love with physics. In this class, I want 2 things from you. Everyone needs to ask me at least 1 question.
Did you hear that? He just said, "Sir, you wrote the equation wrong. The equation is wrong." This is like a Comedy Central skit. I am feeling like I've come a very long way. Everyone has to start somewhere. We published those videos, and that went viral. And eventually it started snowballing into me doing lectures almost 2 or 3 times a year at this point. Right now, I'd estimate that the number of lectures I've given was probably between 30 to 35 in person, but possibly over 3,000 if you count online lectures. Infinity is very special. Why? Because at some point, as X approaches... At the beginning, I wasn't a very good teacher, because I wasn't really teaching, I was more just reciting everything that I already knew, and I think, how was anyone in the room tolerating this without walking out? But eventually, I started figuring out, how was this taught to me in a way that I could understand? The rewards are mostly just total gratification. It feels like you've actually spread your knowledge to other people, and that's one of the most valuable feelings you can get. Nowadays, I like to focus more on actually learning math and science rather than teaching math and science. And that's why for the past 6 months, actually, I've been a student of New York University in mathematics.
Let me see, does this work? I think it does. Wow. It's unbelievable. Honestly, unbelievable. Yeah. I'm 11 and I got a scholarship here at NYU. Yeah.
Congratulations to you.
It was a huge accomplishment for me even to get accepted into university. I was nervous that due to being in only 2 years of high school, and not just that, the fact that I was, 6 years younger than every other applicant, it would make it very difficult for me to get accepted.
Okay, tell me how things are going at NYU.
Yeah, everything's going great. This semester,
Working with a student like Saborno is thrilling because they have infectious energy. No matter how much you teach them, they want to know more. These kids are actually special needs kids, and I know people don't like to think of them like that. The typical attitude is, they're smart, they'll figure it out eventually, but they don't. They need as much attention as somebody who's struggling to keep up with a class because they disengage in the same way.
I was very lucky to be born with two of the most supportive parents in the world. I would like to tell any parents watching this, speak to your kids. They have a lot more going on in their mind than you might realize.
Very proud of you. Okay, now let's do something else.
We don't want him to become next Einstein. We want him to become next happiest person in the world.
Yes, we always support their interest, nothing else. We never push them to do anything. Whatever they enjoy, we just support them as a parent.
Yeah.
We think that's our responsibility.
I hope that 9 or 10-year-old kids who see my story don't take away the message that they're supposed to be teaching at 9 or 10 years old. But I think that they should take away the message that with enough determination and enough passion for whatever subject you want to go into, anything is possible.
Did not grow up thinking I was going to be a chef. That was never the plan. But I have always been the kind of person who needs to shove it in people's faces and be like, ha, look what I can do. But in a really nice way.
Meet Kathlina. She's on a mission to make delicious food for every allergy and intolerance. But with severe food allergies herself, she rarely tastes the food she makes. She's even allergic to flowers.
I generally eat once a day to try to minimize the amount of reactions that there could be. My reactions can range from, what one might consider mild, so headache, irritations all over your body, to severe anaphylaxis near death. I cook by sight, I cook by sound, I cook by smell, I cook by really the science of it all. I love making food that shouldn't exist, and when it does, it knocks you off your feet and you go, wait, you made this and you can't eat it? I'm like, yeah, what's it taste like? Tell me all about it.
For Kathlina to cook certain foods safely, she wears a respirator.
I think I've had to wear my respirator for about 7 or 8 years now. I make it look cool and look good, but it's really uncomfortable. It's like having a death grip on your face. And then sometimes when you're cooking, it fogs up, so you can't really see what you're doing. You're literally windshield wiping your own face. It's really weird.
Going to the shops can set off her allergies too, but a chef always needs ingredients.
So when you're at the grocery store, corn is everywhere, right? The wax on produce is corn derived. Even the adhesive on the stickers that they use, usually corn derived. It's in so many places that you literally cannot avoid it unless you buy a piece of land and never leave.
After acing her chef training and rewriting her French pastry exam to be top 9 free, Kathlina launched Raise, a platform to teach cooking for restricted diets.
There's like all these foods that people think can't exist because, oh, you can't have this that's free from gluten, dairy, egg, peanut, blah, 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 all the things. And I'm like, yeah, watch me. You know, if you're vegan, they're like, oh, and here's some wheat and some tree nuts and some soy, and they throw every allergen into almost every recipe. And I'm like, wait, what about people who are allergic to these things or can't have this or can't have that? Right? I will find all of these strange ways to bring back flavor and texture and experience when you thought you'd never have it again. It includes the entire community. No one gets left behind. One of the coolest cakes I ever made, it's dubbed Candy Overload Cake. A mom called and she said, my daughter's turning 12, but because of her allergies, the kid had just never had a birthday cake. And I said, okay, well, how about, since it's her first cake, and you know me, go big or go home, cookies, candies, chocolates, anything that's safe, marshmallows, all of it, just all goes on top. The dad brings the little girl to pick up her cake, and I just slide it over it. I'm like, happy birthday. And dad is on the verge of tears. Her face was just so like, that's mine. You know, like, you never forget that moment. Like, helping kids have that first, something that everybody takes for granted. Like, it's not about being a chef, it's about reinventing the world for people who cannot engage in it. Just because you have this wild fringe diagnosis does not mean you can't live. You're going to live. You just gotta put in some elbow grease. A lot of it, actually.
This is Gary McKee. This is West Cumbria, where Gary went on his daily run. He'd usually go past these sheep, past this primary school, and past Bill, who would brew him a cup of tea. Then he'd run back home before work. Seems pretty idyllic, right? Until you realize Gary's morning run is a marathon. That's 26.2 miles every single day.
I'm Gary McKee, and in 2022, I ran 365 marathons in 365 days. The story probably starts on the 23rd of June 1997 when I came home from work, and when I went in the house, my dad was sitting there in his usual chair and he had tears in his eyes. He told me that he had cancer. He passed away 6 years later of an unrelated illness, and in his memory I wanted to do something to celebrate his life. So I became a fundraiser for Macmillan Cancer Support, knowing that the charities were going into people's houses and telling them the same devastating news that we'd been told.
Gary raised money by doing long-distance running, but he wanted to take his challenges to the next level.
It all just happened really quick. We were sat in the kitchen and I was painting his face and he just came out with it. We were all shocked.
I'm sure there are other people who have done something similar in terms of marathons, but not while holding down a full-time job.
To do it whilst running a busy family life and still supporting other people along the way, there actually aren't any words.
Gary ran around 10,000 miles over the year. That's the distance between Rome and Sydney. He spent 30 hours running every week in one of the hilliest parts of England, climbing the equivalent of 11.7 Mount Everests over the year.
If I was going to work, I'd be up at 5 o'clock in the morning. The only things I wouldn't know would be my shoes. I'd never wear the same pair of shoes on consecutive days. And then I would normally do a motivational video for the day. Good morning on day 289, 10 degrees outside, cloudy and windy.
Word caught on quickly. Once people started to realize this madman was actually running 26 miles every single day, they began to join him to support the cause.
People were coming previously couch to 5k, 5k to 10k, 10k to half marathon, pushing themselves to do the full marathon.
Work colleague Chris ran 92 marathons alongside Gary over the year.
Gary's challenge gave me a purpose at a time that I needed it most. Sometimes I don't really know the best way to help myself, but I always know that trying to help others is the best way to start. I don't think any of us would have went, I'm going to run even in excess of 10 marathons in a year.
It was December 31st, 2022, the 365th marathon. Gary's final day was a monumental occasion. A 50-strong band of runners joined Gary on a victory lap. The town was alive with energy.
The final day, I mean, what an event that was. The procession that followed Gary through Clayton Moor, absolutely incredible.
Just before we finished, I pulled everybody together and I thanked them. And I said to them, no matter how many miles you run in your life, you'll always remember this last one. The roads were lined with people. There's fireworks going off and there was over 1,000 people at the rugby club waiting for me coming in. It was chock-a-block.
At 7:20 p.m., Gary had reached his fundraising goal.
The man here as of now has raised £1 million for Macmillan and Hospice at home.
What you've got to remember is I hadn't had a beer for over a year. So being the extreme person I am, I tried to do 26.2 beers. I think if people understood what their actual limits were and what the boundaries were, they would say that they could push themselves a lot further than they believe. I think it's getting comfortable being uncomfortable sometimes and just working towards the light, because however dark it is, you can always find the light if you dig deep enough.
Well, I think any cook loves to hear that's delicious, but it means a lot more when the food is actually horrific. It's a dead body, it's a lung, maybe roadkill rats. I'm Janice Poon, and I'm the food stylist you come to if you want a grisly little something for your table. What have I done? Roasted legs, Peking-style whole bodies, edible insects, tiny organs for dead rats, edible snails, space whales, raw, of course.
Janice can cook up a mean severed head, but she's pretty much a jack of all trades. Just how many jobs have you had, Janice?
First, I was an art director in an agency, then a caterer, a cookbook author, a graphic novelist, a sculptor, then a miniaturist, couturier, and writing. Did I forget anything?
Now, back to the juicy stuff.
Oh, I love the reading part of the creative process. Lay back on the sofa. I read as much as possible. I just do a quick sketch to communicate to everybody the look I'm going for and narrow the field. The kitchen is really where the sorrow begins. That's where everything that you thought was going to work out great doesn't. And that is where you really start to think, well, now what am I going to do? You know, it's kind of yummy. Nothing like a little raw hamburger to get going.
Hang on, did she just eat raw meat?
As a food stylist, I get all kinds of requests from actors who have dietary restrictions. I didn't expect, however, to get one from a vampire queen who wouldn't eat meat. What I used was essentially sweet potato. That doesn't look like meat. Maybe I need something to make it more gummy. I'll put a bunch of glutinous flour in. Well, that's a bit yellow for meat, isn't it? So I'll put in some beets. After a couple minutes of the microwave spinning around, what it needs is a little tiny flecks of fat. I use chopped up rice and just plow that stuff in, oil, and that's really going to make it look visceral.
Surely that's not edible.
It's not just edible, it's delicious.
Any more tips and tricks?
Well, one little food item that we have in a lot of horror movies is corn syrup. Corn syrup with food coloring in it to make it look like blood. Buckets and buckets and buckets of this stuff get used for TV shows, and you just pour it on and lick it off. I would say the duct tape of food styling is oil, because a little slick of oil is going to make anything look as if it just freshly cooked or it's just juicy and delicious. Well, fake mold, if you want it to be edible, you have to use Dutch processed cocoa, which is a black powder, spirulina powder, icing sugar, and white food coloring. You can dust them on your food, and it'll look just like mold. Furry, but yummy. Sometimes I use toothpaste because it comes in a tube, and you just throw it in your bag, and bloop, 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 and that's little blobs of mold. But people don't like to eat a lot of toothpaste, so there you go.
some of Janice's most gruesome dishes feature in the TV show Hannibal.
When I looked at the first Hannibal script, I thought, wow, these people are crazy. Mads was the most adventurous. He was kind of annoyed with me the first day when I didn't serve up real lung, real brain, and real liver. But then I knew he was going to be an adventurous eater, so it all cut loose from there. Our final scene was to be Bedelia's dining on her own leg. The leg was the old go-to pork. It had a marrow bone at the thigh end and a lamb shank at the ankle end. I felt I had to apologize to Gillian. And I said, Gillian, I'm sorry I made the leg so big. But if I had made it the size of your leg, it wouldn't have looked as impressive. She did say, oh, that's beautiful, which is what you really want. She didn't say, oh, my leg looks good.
Any final words of wisdom, Janice?
Part of storytelling, of course, is that tension, especially with horror, where so many of the characters are psychically, they're on a knife's edge. You want your food to be on a knife's edge too. You want it to teeter. Is it horrible? Is it delicious? No, it's horrible and delicious.
A genre born in the UK's underground music scene has taken the world by storm. This is the story of Donk, and why this man turned himself into a Lobster DJ.
My name's Lobster B, and I'm best known for being a DJ and donk producer.
Before we get into it, why are you dressed like a lobster?
During lockdown, I did a lot of DJ streams online, and I thought if I was just a guy sat in my bedroom, then it would be a bit boring. I had a baby a few years ago, and my friend bought him this, which is a lobster costume. And he absolutely didn't want to get into it. And I thought, oh, what if I try this on for my streams? I got bookings after COVID and I turned up to them without my costume. And the promoters always said, where's your costume? You know, you're not Lobster B without it. So I guess I have no choice, but it's stuck and I'm happy with it.
So tell us, what exactly is donk?
Donk music is quite hard, fast, bouncy dance music. It's also known for remixing pop music tracks. The characteristics of donk are things like sped up chipmunk style sort of vocals. It has an offbeat donk sound, which is best described as like a flip hop flop hitting a drain pipe, like a thunk sort of noise. Characteristically 150 BPM, which is quite fast. It's probably faster than, say, house or trance or techno. What makes donk music different from other dance music genres is that there's definitely a sense of humour. It's kind of tongue-in-cheek. There's no pressure to go to these events and dress all the same like some techno parties. People can be uninhibited and be themselves and just have a good time. It's just fun.
Where did this genre of dance music come from?
Donk music came from the Netherlands. The first track was by Clubheads in the early 2000s. It was popularised in the UK by the Blackout Crew, who made Put a Donk on It in 2009. That became huge. That got into the UK charts and everyone knew donk from that track. Donk became popular up north in Wigan, that area where the Blackout Crew are from. There's a really legendary venue up there called Wigan Pier. In the early to mid 2000s, Wigan Pier was absolutely like the place to go for donk music, and everyone sort of flocked there. It was like the donk mecca.
Do you remember the first time you heard donk music?
The first time I heard donk was a long time ago when I was in my teenage years. That was even before Blackout Crew did Put a Donk on It. There was a DJ called Alex K, who's a popular Australian DJ, who was doing donk mashups of dance tracks. His tracks were the most popular ones on Wigan Pier when the donk scene first originated. I can remember the first donk event that I went to, which was Entrance versus Ultrabeat, who are still both massive acts. They played a whole set of donk and it was just pure euphoria. It was like totally uplifting and you just leave on such a good vibe, and I think that's really what made me think, yeah, I need to get into this.
Why do you think donk has had a rise in popularity in recent years?
When I first started going to donk or bounce events in the southwest, they were very working class, like the ones up north. And then the donk scene started coming about in London, and it's become very trendy. Everyone's super fashionable, but there has been a good outcome with that because the London scene is incredibly inclusive. Donk nights are sort of largely queer or queer inclusive events, and it's, you know, dress however you want, and there's no kind of judgment there, which is great. In terms of costumes, I've seen everything. Goths, Japanese influence like Lolita style, cyber goths, just straight up ravers, all sorts, anything goes. Nostalgia in the donk scene I think is incredibly important. I grew up in the early 2000s, I was listening to those tunes. So you've got things like Venga Boys, Crazy Frog, that kind of music which is from that era. People love hearing those tunes, even if they were babies or maybe not even born when those tracks came out, which is great for me. Something that has really helped the donk scene is social media. Donk is like a really good genre for things like TikTok videos filmed at raves because they're just fast and fun. They have heavy drops. I've found my tracks being used for incredibly niche things on TikTok, such as German combine harvester drivers using a particular track of mine, a Madonna remix. Almost every day I have a new video on TikTok which is someone driving a combine harvester to my track, which is hilarious.
So Lobster B, how did you get into becoming a donk DJ?
I've been making donk for over 20 years. I kind of made it just so I could play it to my friends. I never imagined that it would take off, so I never bothered releasing it. I thought it was too niche. And then when I realised that there was a market for it, I started releasing my tracks about 5 or 6 years ago. And yeah, it's all kicked off since then. A lot of DJs want to take the crowd on a journey or respond to the crowd's vibes or reaction. I kind of do the opposite because a donk event, people just want to hear like hard dance, donk bangers. And so I just smash them out all night. One of the nicest things for me is when people message me to say that they've come alone to one of my gigs. It's nice to think that they feel that they can do that, and it's an inclusive enough event for them to feel safe and meet other people who are into that sort of music. I've got some returning Lobster V fans who will fly from other countries to see me, which is super nice, and people in the crowd who dress as lobsters, and that's always very heartwarming to see.
Is this your first donk night? Or
No,
have you
no,
come to
no.
donk
I've been to other donk nights before. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's our first donk rodeo.
Are you here for Lobster V?
Of course!
Yeah.
You want to be.
Yeah. Have you seen Lobster V before?
I have, twice. I've seen him 3 times.
Oh, really?
She went.
It's nice, energetic, fun. We generally like any music with heavy bass. It sounds a bit like obnoxious. Yeah. It's just silly. And that sounds silly fun.
Exactly, it's funny, no one takes themselves seriously.
Yeah, you're right. There's no other music like it. Like when you go on Spotify, there's nothing. When you go on SoundCloud, the real juice is that. It's like the nectar of the feats, right? Yeah. Period. Like, I love that.
The future of donk music will be it getting more into chart and pop music. Some artists in my scene have made bootleg tracks, and then instead of getting sued, they get approached by Universal or Sony Music who say, hey, how about we make this track official? And that is happening more and more. You start to see donk all over Europe now. Even Berlin has its own donk scene. I never thought I'd see the day, especially when I started playing events in Berlin. I feel like the crowd didn't know how to react, but now they seem to be super into it, which is amazing. I'm excited to see how the scene grows, and it's definitely on the up.
Danger, 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 danger.